You're listening to the Hustled Up Podcast. I'm Laura Natoli.
And I'm Holly Silva, and we are best friends since birth turned multi-passionate entrepreneurs and co-owners of Chores and More, a successful service-based business where everybody is treated like a best friend.
Welcome to our show where tactical business education meets fun and real conversations about this wild journey called life.
Get ready to be inspired. Grab your headphones, turn up the volume, and let's hustle up.
Hello, friends, supporters, listeners, amazing people. Welcome back to another episode of Hustled Up. We are your hosts. My name is Holly.
And my name is Laura.
And before we jump into anything today, you already know what's coming. If you could just quickly pause this episode, if you love us and like what you are hearing, leave us a 5-star rating on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. If you are on YouTube, giving this video the old thumbs up and subscribing to the channel. And if you're on Apple, leaving a nice little love letter to go with your 5-star rating. We would appreciate it so much as it helps us get our free education literally out there into the earbuds of so many entrepreneurs who are feeling maybe a little frustrated or lonely, or they just need some encouragement, or they need advice on something. So if you could go ahead and do that, that would be amazing. All right, we're going to jump into today's topic. And this one is for probably my home service business owners. But it might be able to apply to people who just work with other people. Today we're going to be talking about when a job is not one that you should take, like how to know the red flags, how to know when it's not going to be a good fit, because in this industry and pretty much any industry, it is important to know when it's not going to work out. So we did an episode, I think last year, maybe the year before, about how to break up with a client. And that's hard. But sometimes you can avoid that. You can avoid inevitably having to do that by saying no right off the bat, or sending them elsewhere, or telling them it's not going to be a good fit. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today, figuring out what the red flags are, if there are any, and figuring out when it's not a good fit, and how to turn down someone tastefully, because that's also really important. And you don't want to hurt anybody's feelings or anything like that. So we're going to dive right in and hang tight for a second. We'll be right back.
Are you tired of spending your entire weekend cleaning when you could be going out to brunch with your girls?
First of all, I love brunch. And second of all, yes, there are so many things I could be doing instead of cleaning my house on the weekend.
Oh yeah, like playing video games.
Or watching a movie with the kids.
Going on a date with your significant other.
Taking your dog to the dog park.
Going to the movies.
Solving world hunger.
Yes! Exactly. So this is why it is such a good idea to call up Chores and More for your deep and recurring cleaning needs.
And do you want to know something really, really cool?
What?
If anybody mentions Hustled Up when they call to book, they can receive up to $100 off their deep cleaning.
Up to $100 off. What are you doing still sitting there? Pick up the phone now, mention our podcast, and never have to spend your weekends cleaning again.
Simply go to choresandmorellc.com. You can fill out our request quote form there, or give us a call, send us a text, 631-397-0177. It is time to get back to doing the things you love. Let us take care of the cleaning.
All right, we are back, and this topic is so good because I really love the episode that you mentioned, Holly, where we talked about how to fire a bad client, because, you know, that's just something that's so important that a lot of people, I think, don't even know they can do. Like, if you own a business, you get the luxury of choosing who you work with, and more importantly, who you don't work with. And this topic is very similar, but there's a bit more nuance to it when it comes to figuring out if you don't want to work with somebody at all before you even start that relationship. And it's so important because, again, I feel like a lot of newer business owners, at least I know for us, when we first started off, we said yes to literally everything. When you're first starting off, you're so thirsty for business, you'll do almost anything. And I think it's really important to know, A, when it's not a good fit, because you're not going to be able to provide them with a good service, because sometimes people ask you for things that are outside of your scope of work. And if you're so hungry, you might say yes, and then you provide them with a bad service. Or it might just not be a good fit in terms of what you offer or personality. Let's just be real. Sometimes you get people that reach out to you and you're just like, oh, this is going to be a nightmare. This is going to be a headache. And you need to know what those red flags are to look for. So before we even go into that, because that's a little bit meatier of a topic, I want to talk about just, personality aside, whether or not you think that they're not going to be a good fit for that. I want to talk about what you have to offer. Because if you own a business, chances are people are going to reach out to you for things that you just can't provide. Maybe it's outside of your scope. Maybe your team or yourself is not properly trained on it. And if you're saying yes, as I mentioned, you're going to be providing a bad service, and that's not fair to the customer. So I think first and foremost, it's really important to know exactly what you're offering, exactly what you're capable of, what your team is trained on, and when to say no. Because I think about actually just a few weeks ago, we had somebody reach out and some of the things that she wanted, we just wouldn't be able to provide her. But instead I say, hey, actually, we wouldn't be able to provide you with that, but instead we can provide you with laundry folding service. I explained what that service looked like. She said, absolutely, thank you so much. And now she's in our schedule for weekly laundry service. So just because you're saying no to something doesn't mean that you're saying no to the person if it's in terms of what service they are purchasing. And she was very, very, very appreciative of my honesty. She kept saying, oh, thank you so much. I even will say to sometimes to some people, you might be better off going with a private housekeeper. You might get more bang for your buck doing it that way. They might be able to serve you better than we can. But because I was so honest up front and so real with her, she appreciated it so much that she wanted to work with us in some way. Does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense to me. I mean, we just had to actually turn down somebody who, very, very sweet person, but she wanted somebody to come in and stay there all day and do cooking and, like nanny type duties as well as house cleaning. And we just know that we don't offer that. And if it was back in 2018 when Laura and I first started, we might have been like, we can learn how to cook.
Oh, yeah. We absolutely. I would have been taking cooking classes online.
Period. But you definitely don't want to do that. Like, avoid that mistake, even if you're new in business and you think, oh, I can learn how to cook, even though it's not something you offer, because later down the line, you will regret that. We've had clients in the past that we said yes to certain things to, and then we had to backtrack and be like, listen, now that it's not us cleaning and we are getting firm on what we do, we can't do this anymore. And it's been a pain point for us. So it's better to just know right off the bat. And if you're not new in business and you just kind of take any job, this is the time to really sit back and figure out what you are offering, what is in your scope of work. And that, I know, like, I'm kind of segueing here, but it's also important to know what you can't offer.
Yes.
And what I mean by that is, for example, cleaning up a crime scene sounds like fun, right? We all want to do that. Everybody in the cleaning industry has thought about this. Like, should we do this? They make good money and pretty cool. You can't just do that. You have to be licensed to do that. Same with mold remediation, right? Like, you can't just clean mold out of a bathroom because spores can go in the air and make you very, very sick. You have to have special gear. You have to have a special license to do that. And so you can't offer that. Even if you wanted to, you cannot unless you took the proper steps to be able to. Same with biohazardous waste and things like that. So you need to figure out what you want to offer and also what you cannot offer, even if you wanted to. You know what I mean? So I think that that's really, really important to figure out, because I feel like some people just say yes to anything and then they're not licensed in it. And then it's a danger to themselves too. If you're taking on a biohazardous job with, feces everywhere, whatever, or maybe one with an infestation, and you're not properly certified to take care of that or properly trained to take care of that or have the proper equipment, then you could get yourself sick. You can get your loved one sick. You can take the infestation home with you. Like, there's a lot to consider there. So you need to definitely make sure in your industry what you are able to offer without any kind of repercussions. Is that the word?
Yeah.
Repercussions.
Yeah, repercussions. Yeah, absolutely.
Isn't that like drumming though?
That's percussion.
Percussion. Okay. See?
Repercussions, yeah. For the percussions.
With without drumming to the beat of your drum, marching to the beat of your own percussion. No, okay.
Love that.
Let me stop.
Great segue. Great segue. Don't offer drumming if you're not a musician, okay? Is what she meant.
Exactly. You can't drum for your client if you're not a trained musician. No.
Dead. But no, that's such a good point. And I feel like the best way to do this, honestly, whether or not you have a business partner, it's just you need to sit down, make a terms of service, and put down in that terms of service exactly what you offer and what you don't offer. And Holly and I did a whole episode about this. I think it was like 056, 057, something like that. It was policies and procedures and how to set them right from the start. Because if you don't set these policies, or what you don't do or what you will do, if you don't set them right from the start, the first clients that you work with, we refer to them as legacy clients, they're going to get spoiled. They're going to get used to you doing things in the beginning that maybe you can't offer once you're no longer the one cleaning. Like, for example, we don't change top bunks. We just think it's dangerous. We're not able to do it well. It's, a lot of those top bunks actually have weight limits. And your girl has climbed up on a few top bunks that I did not meet the weight limit. And I was praying for my life every time I did it. But I would never I shouldn't have put myself in that situation, but I would more importantly never put an employee in that situation that could be potentially dangerous. So it's a lot easier to set these things from the jump with your clients rather than, hey, I know for 3 years I've been doing this for you, but now I can no longer do this service for you. It's going to be just a lot easier. It's going to be better for the client. It's going to be better for you to just figure this out right from the jump. A lot of headaches can be avoided in business if you just think of all these things from the jump, which is why we're here to tell you, because we did not know these things from the jump and we would have saved ourselves a lot of headaches.
Yeah, being proactive in business is the best thing you can do.
Yeah, 100%. All right, well, now that we talked about that, even more importantly, and a little more touchy of a subject, is what is it just not a good fit for either personality fit? You can tell that they're going to be rude or disrespectful to you or your team. How do you figure this out? Because there's a big difference, and I tell my team this all the time. There's a big difference between this person is rude and disrespectful, we should not be working with them, to this person's just a little particular, or this person's just a little bit of a pain. In every industry, you're going to have people that are a little bit of a pain, and that you can deal with. We can all deal with that. But being rude or disrespectful, that's a completely different scenario. And it can be a lot easier, I think, if you're in an industry where you're doing in-home estimates, walkthroughs. I do find that this is a lot easier to spot. If you do what we do, where we do all our sales over the phone, it is a bit harder to spot, but there are still red flags to look out for. And I would say the biggest one is just, what kind of language do they use, right? Because you have to be careful. If you're doing phone sales, you got to be a sleuth. You got to be a little detective. What kind of language are they using? When they speak, do they act like they know better, or do they act like you and your team are the professionals? How do they talk about your cleaning techs or who are going to be coming to do the job? Because if I hint any disrespect in their voice, or they say anything that seems like maybe they think they're above my employees, that is not somebody I want to work with. And I can honestly give an example. That's probably just the best way to discuss this topic. Is I was on an in-home walkthrough years ago, and the woman seemed very nice, very friendly, very sweet, but she said a few red flag things that I just knew I couldn't work with her. I couldn't service her. So she called herself picky, which that's already a red flag. Because most people will not admit that they're picky. I could look past that. She was asking for a lot of things that were not included in the service, and it's your responsibility to communicate to that to them. If they say like, hey, can you move my couch? And I say, no, it's against policy. If they argue back with you on why it should be done, that's another red flag. If they're arguing with you about what should be done. And the biggest one for me in this particular case, where I knew that I could not work with this person, is she said, I feel bad for the person who you're going to assign to my house.
I remember this.
You remember this, right?
Yeah.
As soon as she said that, I said, oh dear God, I can't work with this person, because for Holly and myself, we're never going to put ourselves in a situation. No, we're never going to put an employee in a situation that I would personally not feel comfortable doing myself. So as soon as I heard that, I was like, I cannot work with this person. But as Holly mentioned, you want to be tasteful. You don't want to just right up and then and there say, I don't want to work with this person. So I think when these situations arise, what Holly and I always do is we have a very lengthy conversation about it. Because in my mind, I was like, I can't work with this person, but I'm not going to just make that snap decision and walk out. That's extremely rude. So instead, I came home, I talked it over with Holly. We discussed it, ultimately decided that we could not work with this person. So I wrote her a very kind email. And you can use resources such as ChatGPT to help you. If you're not good with your words, you need some help on how to sound professional and tasteful, you can always use something like ChatGPT. And we just were very honest. At the end of the day, we're all human beings. Yes, this is business, but I would want somebody to be honest with me. So we were just very honest with her. We don't think it's going to be a good fit. Thank you so much for your time. Keep it moving. Don't put too much information in there. Keep it short and sweet and respectful. And that's just the best way to handle this because we could have worked with this woman, right, Hal? We could have sent somebody there, but it would have been bad. It would have been bad for the technician. It would have been bad for her because I knew that what she wanted was outside of what we were capable of. And it just wouldn't be good for anyone. So you just got to sometimes do the uncomfy thing.
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like for Laura and I, we've gotten pretty good at this over the years, but it's important to, and we tell our techs this as well, but this is obviously after we've already booked it. So that's kind of not what this episode is about, but I'm still going to say it. We've gotten pretty good at deciphering when a client's just going to be like a little annoying, right? Which that happens. Some people are just kind of annoying. Sorry if you're one of our clients who's annoying. We love you anyway, but you're a little annoying. You're, maybe a little micromanagey, or you are a little picky. Like, it is what it is. You want what you want, and that's okay. We deal with that, and that's fine. But if we're picking up on the idea that you are going to be disrespectful, or if you're going to be, even if you're nice, but you're causing turmoil for the tech, right? So like someone who is breathing down the tech's neck. I've cleaned for people in my day who literally followed me from room to room telling me how to do things. Very nice people, but it was just stressful for me. It caused me to go slow on the job. It actually caused me to perform worse on the job. And so I think about this, I take a step back and think, like, if I was an employee for my business, right? Like if I was working for somebody else, technically, I would wake up dreading the day if I had a client like that. And so it's, in some cases, it's not just disrespect, which that's like immediately, whether you clean yourself or you have employees working for you, do not tolerate that. But if it's also a situation where it's something that's making you any kind of uncomfortable, or messing up your performance, or causing you to like dread going, I just think it's okay to say, like, this is not a good fit. I do not work well with somebody following me from room to room and breathing down my neck. I do not work well with somebody telling me how to do my job. For me, that's disrespect. I don't know if other people see it that way, but for me, that's disrespect. We are trained professionals. Like, you do not tell me how to do my job. Now, it is one thing to be like, I would like it if you did it this way. I would like it if you used my products on this. Okay, you figure out how you're going to do that. How are you going to work using other people's products into your policies? How are, there are different things you need to do with that as well. And that's okay. But somebody who is saying, this is the only way, we've had clients who have told us with like our dusters, they call them feather on a stick. And I'm like, girl, we know what we're doing. We actually still clean for her though, and I love her to death. But sometimes, people on the phone may say things like that. You may be like, oh, maybe this won't be a good fit. So even if you decide you want to take the client on and try it, that's okay. But you have to make sure that those expectations are set. No, we're not going to change your bunk beds. Yes, we're going to use feathers on a stick. That's what we like. That's what we use. That's what works and gets the job done. No, we're not going to clean this bathroom because your dog crapped all over it and we're not certified in biohazard cleaning. I don't know. I'm trying to think of examples. Like, have that set and ready to go. This is why it's so important to have those policies and procedures lined up. This is why it's important to know what you're going to do. Try to envision, or ask ChatGPT for every scenario that you could possibly run into in a house, because we are still running into situations that aren't in our policies. And I'm like, oh crap, I have to add this to the policy packet now. In fact, I think I have something on my running to-do list that I have to add in there. I can't remember off the top of my head, but like, we've been in business 7 years and situations are always going to come up, and you just have to make sure you know like what you're going to put yourself or your employees through. But I think that's why it is really important, and this is a proactive thing to do. You know, we always talk about how being proactive is so important. Why it's important to figure out if this person is going to be a good fit for you and your business in the long run. Maybe they'll be fine for a few, for a few visits, and then it'll get chaotic. But it's important to try to figure it out in advance, and with phone sales, as Laura said, it is a little harder because you're not seeing the house. So you're not going to see if there's like a bed bug infestation, right?
Mm-hmm.
For example. So that's why it's important to also make sure that you and your techs know all of your rules, so that if they do walk into a situation with bed bugs, that they are to leave.
Yeah.
Because it's not a good fit. We don't clean bed bugs. So it's really important to know what jobs and what clients are a good fit for you right off the bat. Don't wait until 5 cleanings in, because then that causes more issues than just being open and honest up front.
Yeah, it's like it's the uncomfortable thing to do, but it's going to save you in the long run. You have to do the hard thing now so that you and your technicians and your clients don't suffer long term, because those red flags, like we said, it's hard to spot on the phone. There have been times where maybe there were no red flags right up front. Maybe we went and we performed the initial cleaning, and that's where we learned information that it wasn't going to be a good fit. So I'm not saying like any little thing you don't like on the phone. I'm not going so extreme to be like, don't work with, it doesn't happen often. I'm not saying don't work with this person, that person, that person. It does not happen often where I can dissect that right away, because most people, it's not an issue until we're in the house. And even then, it's still rare. We're only bringing this up because it is an important topic. It is a rare one, but we've had times where maybe the client didn't read through our terms of service. We had a situation where
that happens all the time.
I know.
Nobody likes to read the damn terms of service.
I know, I'm being kind.
But we have it so that when they bring it up, we can be like, it's here on page 6, girl.
Mm-hmm. And you signed that you read this. By working with Chores and More, you have signed that you have read this. So if it's, you didn't read it, it's on you, boo-boo, and I'm sorry, but you signed it. But it's so important, because I can think of another scenario where it was great. I thought this was going to be a great fit, weekly service. It was going to be wonderful. We went on the initial cleaning. She wanted some things done that were not included, like changing duvet covers, making bunk beds. And this was a deal breaker for her. So had she read through the terms of service, saw we didn't do that, it would have been a non-issue. And our technicians were so courteous and kind to include it for her on the initial deep cleaning. But when we said, listen, we can't do this for you moving forward, it was a deal breaker, and she no longer wanted to work with us. And guess what? That's okay, because there's another service out there that won't be in their terms of service, and they will do those things. And that's okay, because she's a better fit for them, and we'll find another client in her place that'll be a better fit for us. Like, don't think it's the end of the world. If you have clients where it's not a good fit, it's not the end of the world. It's going to be better for you both in the long run. So don't be afraid to just be open, honest, and communicate. Because if I hired a service to do something and I found out that they dreaded coming to me, or for whatever reason they didn't think we were a good fit, I would want to know, because I would rather find a service that was so excited to come to my house, that was so excited to work with me. As the client, I would prefer that.
For sure. And I think it's also important to note that you are going to get kickback sometimes, because we've gotten that too. We've gotten accused of crazy things by saying we don't do certain things, and people have been angry. That's not often the case. That is the rare exception, but it does happen. So I feel like it's important to note that that is the case. It is not your fault. You are 100% in your right to say no. And as long as you remain respectful on your end, like, it's up to them to figure out how they are going to process their feelings over the fact that you don't feel like it's a good fit. And that's not your fault. But just be prepared that people can be upset about certain things. But your policies are your policies for a reason. What you do during your service, it's there for a reason. and who you choose to work with and what kind of people you choose to work with, that is set for a reason as well. So don't feel bad. And again, ChatGPT can help you talk back if that's needed. But just be prepared. It's not always like, oh, like, we're not a good fit. Okay, you have a good one. Like, sometimes, yes, it's great. Oh, thank you for your honesty. I'm so happy. Sometimes it does go that way, but sometimes it's like, I just think that's absurd, and I think that you are discriminating against like kids because you don't make bunk bed. Like, people will say crazy things. I don't think people said actually that to us, but we've had some weird ones
Yeah, we've
before.
had some odd ones. We've gotten accused of
We've had
some
some
odd stuff.
odd stuff, odd
Yeah.
stuff. And you know what? We were just like, I'm sorry, that's not true at all, but do you? And we're just gonna part ways. And just stay respectful on your end. That's all you can do.
Yep.
Because even if someone was to, which this has not happened to us, but I'm just bringing it up just in case, because I feel like I've heard of it happening to other people. If someone chooses to leave you a bad review for that reason, you being respectful and kind and tasteful on your end is your defense mechanism for that bad review. If you start saying, well, I think you're crazy for not doing the bunk beds yourself or something like that, like, that's not a good look. So you don't want to do that. You just want to remain respectful. And sometimes it's like a tough situation for the client. Maybe they're experiencing depression, and so they haven't cleaned, and then all of a sudden now they have bed bugs, and now you have to tell them you can't do that. Maybe you want to send them the contact to an exterminator friend that you have and say, listen, they're going to help you. Call them, and then we'll come in and take care of the cleaning. Like, maybe there are other ways to do it if someone is going through a hard time and maybe now it's gotten too out of hand or something. So it's important to just remember, and this drives me nuts when this happens, and I see it all the time in all the Facebook cleaning groups I'm in, where they're just judging someone by their house. And they'll say, like, I can't believe they let it get that bad, that's disgusting, and blah blah blah. And personally, I would never, because I understand that everybody is battling their own demons. People are dealing with depression and postpartum, and they have kids, or they work a full-time job and they're exhausted by the time they get home, or whatever, that maybe they're working 2 or 3 jobs because they're just trying to make ends meet. So then they let the house get out of control a little bit, and then maybe there is a situation that's out of our scope, like biohazard or whatever. But it's not something to judge about. It's something to say, listen, like, I can't do this for you right now, but here's a contact that can help you get like started on the right track, and then maybe we can meet up again later. I think that it's really important to remain judgment free and to remember that everybody's going through stuff. So don't judge them on the condition of their house. And if it is something that is out of your scope, you always want to do it from a place of empathy and caring, because they're probably embarrassed as heck to even reach out,
Yeah.
So I think that that's really important to think about as well.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you brought that up, because I think that that's something that doesn't get talked about enough, to be quite honest, is how
Yeah.
often when people do reach out for help, they're doing it from a place of fear of being judged. I remember one of our older clients that we used to have, she moved, which I'm so sad about. She found us on a Facebook group on a post that said, I want a non-judgmental cleaning company. Because a lot of people can be really judgy, which I don't understand, because I'm like, hello, we wouldn't be in business if everybody had a clean house. First of all, we always remind our techs that. But second off, it's like, do you know how hard it is to reach out for help? Do you know how hard it is to take that first step and say, I can't do this on my own for whatever the reason may be, I need help? That's really hard. And speaking
Yeah.
from just a sales perspective, I hear all the time all the reasons why people reach out. Before I even ask, they'll start with that. Well, I have 3 kids and I work a full-time job and I just can't do it anymore. They're justifying it to me. And I want to be like, honey, boo boo, you don't need to justify it. I always remind my people, I'm like, you deserve it. You should have it. And you're going to have it and you're going to love it. Like, I am always reminding people that, because you'd be surprised. I don't think people think about that. People are really embarrassed. And whatever the reason may be, even if it is for a reason of they were being rude, or it's just not a good fit for whatever reason, they are going to be embarrassed. They are going to be hurt because it almost feels like a breakup. Nobody wants to be told that you can't work with them regardless of the reason, and it's going to feel like a breakup. And sometimes you can do everything right, you can say everything nice, you can be sweet, you can be kind. You are not responsible for how they react. You are only responsible for how kind you are in delivering the information. Once they receive that information, it is in their hands and they are responsible for how they react. All you can do is just do the right thing.
Yeah. And it's important to remember that, and I have to remind myself this a lot. Sometimes people are jerks, right? Like they're
Oh,
just
yeah.
mean.
Oh, yeah.
But sometimes it's important to remember, and I feel like this actually happened to us once. It was like not the same scenario, but the client was like really mean to Laura on the phone. I remember she was really mean about, because there was like an issue with the house, and we didn't even make a mistake actually, but like she thought we did, and she got very upset and she was being very rude to Laura on the phone. And then when she realized that it wasn't us, and also it was like a few hours later, she was like, I was having a really bad morning and you caught me at such a bad time. And like, I'm so sorry that I was like an ass to you. And we were like, thank you for admitting that. Not everybody does, but a lot of people are going through their own stuff. Like they're, just going through their own maybe work stress or family stress, or, their kids failing at school. I don't know, whatever it is. Like there's always something. So if someone is out like not super nice to you, and granted, like we always say there's a difference between just like straight disrespect and that, but even if someone is disrespecting you, it doesn't give you the right to disrespect them back.
Yeah.
And it's important to remember, like, they may be treating you like this or doing something because they're going through something. Maybe it's something completely out of their control, and so they're kind of taking it out on you, and you're kind of a little bit of a punching bag. Not saying, oh, you have to go service them because they disrespected you. But at the end of the day, there might have been a reason for it. Maybe they're just an a-hole. But in most cases, I feel like there's probably a reason behind it. So don't think that because they're disrespecting you, it's okay to disrespect them back, or that it's okay to be mean or tell them things, whatever. Like, just be kind to everybody, no matter how they treat you, and if you have to turn them down for whatever reason it is, whether they're mean, whether their house is not in your scope, like whatever it is, just remember that everybody's going through crap, and having to turn them down sucks, but you could always make their day by either offering them help in another way, sending them someone who can get them started, or just saying that you wish them all the best and you hope that they find what they're looking for. There's no need to be mean to anybody. And I think that that's so important in any industry, honestly.
Yeah, this is not even related to just this industry. It's really any industry, because you can come across any number of reasons not to work with somebody.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, I hope that this was helpful. I definitely think that this episode would have been helpful for me back in the day. I definitely would have. I think there's a few people I probably would have turned down and not worked with, and saved us all a bunch of big headaches.
Yeah.
So just remember to don't be scared. Do everything with kindness. And at the end of the day, you will be okay. Even if you have to do the scary, uncomfortable thing, you will be okay. All right. Well, that's pretty much a wrap for us. I mean, we definitely have some fun and exciting things coming up. Some more guests will be on soon. But in the meantime, as always, go check us out on social media. All of our show notes will be listed below. All of our links will be listed below. If you want to get in touch with us, you can always find us at Hustle It Up Podcast on Instagram, or you can send us an email at hustleituppodcast@gmail.com. Got it right that time. I always have to think.
Woohoo! You go, girl.
Thank you. And if you want to be a guest on this podcast, we would love to have you. We would love to hear your story. You do not need to be a cleaning business owner. You don't even need to be a business owner. Really, you can come on the podcast even if you don't own a business. It's not a requirement. And we would love to chat with you. And until then, go have a kick-ass week.